It's Wednesday, February 4th, 2026, and we're about to witness something that's going to catch a lot of people completely off guard. While everyone's been focused on the brutal Arctic pattern we've been stuck in for weeks, the models just converged on a surprise snow event that's going to unfold over the next 5 days, and this one's going to feel completely different from everything we've experienced this winter. Here's what just changed and why this matters. The jet stream is about to undergo a dramatic flip that's going to split our country into two completely different weather zones. And this atmospheric reorganization is setting up a classic scenario for widespread snow across areas that haven't seen significant accumulation in weeks. We're looking at abnormally warm conditions building across the western and central United States, which creates a chain reaction that's going to drive not one, but two Arctic blasts into the eastern tier of the country. This temperature contrast is exactly what we need to unlock a widespread snow event that could impact everywhere from the Great Lakes down through the Ohio Valley and potentially as far south as North Carolina. The first Arctic blast is actually arriving today with a large cold front that's stretching from Texas all the way up into New England, and this is going to drop temperatures by as much as 30 degrees in some locations while bringing isolated snow showers, especially across the Northeast. But here's where things get really interesting. The second Arctic blast is going to be way more intense, with temperatures potentially dropping 40 degrees in just 24 hours, and that's when our surprise snow event really kicks into gear. As this cold air crashes into the moisture-laden atmosphere, we're looking at the development of a winter storm that could bring widespread snow accumulations across the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and East Coast, including areas that many people think are done with winter weather for the season. Let me walk you through exactly how this unfolds, because the timing is critical, and a lot of people are going to be caught off guard by how quickly this develops. Over the next 7 days, we're dealing with two distinct Arctic shots, and the first one that's happening today and tomorrow is honestly not the main event. Most areas in the Ohio Valley and Southeast are already running 10 to 15 degrees below average, with some isolated locations sitting 20 degrees below normal. But this is just the setup phase. What's remarkable is how the West Coast and Great Plains are experiencing the complete opposite, well above average temperatures all across the Dakotas and back into California. Many of these areas haven't seen any meaningful precipitation in weeks, some cases over a month, creating this incredibly dry winter pattern for the Rockies. As we move into Thursday, that's when the cold air really starts to build across the Ohio Valley and Northeast, with some areas potentially reaching 30 degrees below average. Another shot of cold air is going to push down into Florida late Thursday, and that's going to create dramatic temperature drops that many people aren't prepared for. Friday brings lingering cold air up and down the East Coast while warmer air builds across the central and southern plains. But this is just the calm before the storm, because our next Arctic blast arrives Friday night and Saturday. This system is going to impact the upper Midwest and Great Lakes. Friday night, then surge into the Northeast by Saturday morning, where temperatures are going to be absolutely brutal heading into Saturday and Sunday. We could see areas near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania hitting 40 degrees below normal by Sunday morning, which is the kind of cold that makes headlines and creates dangerous conditions for anyone caught unprepared. What makes this setup particularly sneaky is how the snow develops. Currently, we already have light snow showers moving across Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia on the backside of a weak low-pressure system that actually produced tornadoes in southeast Texas yesterday. There were 2 tornado warnings just north of Houston in Liberty County, which was completely unexpected but shows you how dynamic this pattern is becoming. Tonight, areas like Johnson City, Tennessee, and Raleigh could see snowflakes with maybe a coating to half an inch, which doesn't sound like much, but it's the precursor to what's coming. Thursday stays relatively quiet for wintry precipitation, but late Thursday into early Friday, we get a large Alberta Clipper diving out of Canada that's going to spread snowfall across the Great Lakes. By early Friday, this snowfall becomes more widespread across the Great Lakes, Ohio, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. Most of this snow starts light, but Friday afternoon is when we could see some snow squalls develop. And this is where people get caught off guard, because snow squalls can create significantly reduced visibility in isolated locations across Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and even New York. Friday night is when the snow gets heavier, especially near the Appalachian Mountains, where we could see several inches accumulating, with light snow flurries possible near Chicago. Saturday morning finds most of this snow across the Northeast, with the heaviest amounts in New England. And while much of this remains light to moderate, it's persistent and widespread. Here's what has me concerned about this being a surprise event. If you don't get significant snow from that first wave, there's another possibility for light to moderate snow late Sunday into Monday, right around Super Bowl weekend, affecting parts of the Ohio Valley and Northeast. This second wave is less certain right now, but the pattern supports additional snow chances, and when you combine multiple smaller events over several days, you end up with significant cumulative totals that catch people off guard. By Monday and Tuesday of next week, things become more uncertain as larger storm systems start developing during the second week of February. And while we can't pinpoint exactly where these storms set up, it definitely looks like our weather pattern is going to become more active next week. When all these snow events are finished over the next 5 to 7 days, we're looking at widespread 3 to 7 inch accumulations stretching from Michigan and northern Wisconsin across most of Pennsylvania into northern New England, with some isolated locations potentially pushing toward a foot of snow. This might not sound like a major storm when described that way, but this is going to be a widespread snow event that develops gradually and catches many people unprepared because they've been focused on the brutal cold rather than snow potential. The reason this feels like a surprise is because of how the atmospheric pattern has been behaving. We've been locked into this persistent trough in the east, with ridging in the west for weeks now, creating that relentless flow of Arctic air from Canada right over the eastern United States at about 18,000 feet above our heads. This pattern has been incredibly stable, leading to the extended cold spell that's still affecting millions of people dealing with power outages from previous storms. But now that pattern is finally starting to break down, and when these long-duration patterns flip, they often do so dramatically and create weather events that catch forecasters and the public off guard. The jetstream winds are going to drive even colder air into the East Coast initially, with what could be another memorable Arctic blast around February 7th, but then everything changes. That big dip in the jet stream gets met by an equally strong ridge to the west, and that ridge starts propagating eastward, creating more traditional-looking jet stream activity, with bursts of warm air entering the central and eastern portions of the U.S., followed by bursts of cold air moving into the west. What makes this pattern particularly interesting meteorologically is how it sets up the potential for severe weather later in February. I'm seeing pretty significant signals for active weather as we approach February 14th through February 21st, which would mark our transition from winter weather to spring storm season. Obviously, it's impossible to predict specifics that far out, but this is the first time we've seen strong, severe weather signals in months, and it's directly related to this pattern flip we're experiencing now. The area to watch stretches from Nashville back to Oklahoma City, down into Texas, then from Dallas to Shreveport down to Houston, with the highest probability zone around San Antonio and Austin. This is still weeks away and highly uncertain, but it shows you how dramatically our weather pattern is about to change, and that change starts with this surprise snow event over the next week. Looking at the extended outlook, the Climate Prediction Center shows that warm air from the west trying to push farther and farther east with each update. We're still expected to be below average from Miami to Quebec over the next 2 weeks, but areas from Houston to Dallas, Oklahoma City, and up through the northern plains are actually expected to trend above average. Some of these places have been locked in cold conditions for weeks, so the eventual warm-up is going to be welcomed, especially in Tennessee and Mississippi, where tens of thousands of people are still without power from our ice storm over 2 weeks ago. The warm-up will be welcome for recovery efforts, even if it comes with the risk for isolated thunderstorms as we shift focus towards spring severe weather season. The key thing to understand is that winter isn't over. We're just entering a different phase where the cold and snow threats become more episodic, and surprise events like this one become more common as the atmosphere transitions between seasons. This particular snow event catches people off guard because it doesn't follow the pattern of major, well-telegraphed storms we've been tracking all season. Instead, it's a series of smaller systems that add up to significant impacts over several days, affecting travel and daily activities in ways that single-day storms don't. The odds of seeing at least 1 inch of snowfall between now and February 10th are highest across the Great Lakes and Northeast, with very low odds elsewhere as that warm air builds across the Great Plains and Southeast. For anyone in the impact zone, this is the kind of event where preparation matters, even though it doesn't look dramatic on paper. Multiple days of light to moderate snow with brutal cold creates challenging conditions for travel, snow removal, and daily activities, especially when people aren't expecting it because they've been focused on more obvious threats. The bottom line is this: while everyone's attention has been on the extreme cold and recovery from previous major storms, this surprise snow event is going to impact millions of people over the next week. And the gradual nature of its development is exactly what makes it easy to overlook until it's affecting your daily life.